GIS, or Guaranteed Income Supplement, is probably the most forgotten about of the three government pensions that are provided to retirees here in Canada. In this video, we're going to go through 6 things that you should know about GIS. Let's get started. Number 1, what is GIS and why does it exist? GIS is a tax-free income source from the Government of Canada that is essentially in place to provide a bare minimum amount of income to lower or moderate income households in Canada for those that are not only eligible, which we'll talk about in a second, but also apply, which we'll get back to also in a minute. Number 2 is about eligibility, and there's a number of eligibility criteria that you can kind of quickly check off of a list, including and not limited to you're 65 years old and you're receiving OAS already and you're living within Canada. From there are thresholds that your household income has to be below in order to be eligible for GIS. Those thresholds are, for a single person, $21,624. And again, that's based on last year's net taxable income on your tax return. If you're a couple and your partner is receiving full old age security, the threshold is $28,560. If you're a couple and your partner is receiving no old age security, your threshold is $51,840. And if you're a couple and your partner is receiving the allowance, which is a topic for another day, your threshold is $39,984. But Chad, what do you mean by net taxable income? What's included in that number and what's not? Almost any taxable income source will be included in that. So employment income, interest income, RSP withdrawals, things like that are all included in that threshold. But here's a quick list of things that are not included in that list. Old age security income does not factor into the GIS criteria. You can actually earn up to $5,000 of employment income and still receive full GIS. That's actually something I did not know when I shot a video about GIS about a year ago. So that's new information to me. Employment income from $5,000 to $15,000 will actually only lower your GIS at 50 cents per dollar that you earn. So you can earn up to $15,000 without completely obliterating your GIS. Anything that you're paying if you are working towards CPP or EI premiums will also be not included in that. It'll be deducted, as will things like union dues and RSP deductions. But outside of those things, everything that's taxable will be included in the calculation to find how much income you're making in comparison to the thresholds. Number 3, how much can GIS actually be? For this, I'm going back to my chart here and we'll fill it in on the chart in the screen here. For a single person, the maximum GIS benefit is $1,065.47 per month. And that'll be the same maximum benefit for a partner situation where your partner is receiving the allowance. For the other 2 couples, whether you're receiving full old age security or no old age security, the maximum benefit is $641.35. And this naturally will bring me to number 4, which is how much will you actually get? And for this, the Government of Canada used to have beautiful, big, very easy to read charts on their website where you could go and say, I'm a single person, I'm earning this much money, how much GIS will I have? And it'll show you on a nice chart. For whatever reason, they got rid of those charts, or at the very least, I can't find them. If you can still find them and you can link them in the description or the comments below, I would greatly appreciate that. But they do still have all that data. It's just in very difficult to read Excel format, which I'll show in a second. But essentially it boils down to if you are making any money at all outside of OAS or any of those excluded income sources, your GIS will drop by somewhere between 50 cents to 75 cents per dollar that you're increasing your income. But let's go through a quick example on the screen here. So to highlight an illustration here, I've pulled the chart up for a single person. And when I say this is a hard to read chart, it's more that it's just overwhelming and unnecessarily complicated in my opinion. And what I mean by that is that there's different brackets. So from $0 to $23.99 of income, there's certain criteria. And then from $24 to $48, there's certain criteria. I don't know why they needed to make it such small gaps. Or brackets, I mean, but they did, and whatever. But if we go down to something that's maybe a little bit more realistic or something like that, I'm just going to highlight a random year here and make it a little bit larger so we can read it. So if you're a single person and you meet all the other criteria for GIS, the maximum GIS being that just over $1,000 number, $1,065. But if you're earning between $8,808 and $8,815.99, the total GIS you'll be receiving, assuming you're receiving full OAS, is $557.47, meaning that your GIS plus OAS, if you're under 75 years old, will be $1,270.81. And if you're over 75, it'll be $1,342.14. And you can see here really where the word supplement for GIS really comes in, because the intention is that it kind of keeps you at that base minimum level between the two sources. So as your income goes up, your GIS goes down, but your monthly GIS plus your monthly OAS is fairly similar and comparable no matter which situation you get in. Number 5, how do you actually get your hands on GIS? The short answer is apply for it. The reality is CPP and OAS eventually have an automatic enrollment that happens for all retirees. As of today, GIS does not have that, meaning that you actively have to apply for it. It's only one extra form when you're applying for your old age security. So my recommendation would be either to come review with me to make sure that you are or are not eligible. But if you think that you're close to eligibility, just apply. Leave it to CRA to make the final decision and let you know, but at least you've applied. Some of the statistics that I've read suggest that about 2 million people are actually eligible for GIS, but not all of them have applied. So there's lots of people out there that are leaving money on the table. Even if you're receiving old age security now and you've already applied, that's behind you, you can still go to the Government of Canada's website and find that application and send it in. There's no harm in applying. The worst they can do is say no, and there's no change to your situation. Number 6 is, can I play some games and get access to GIS even though it's not really designed for me? Yes, absolutely. There is some strategy that you can bring into your financial plan that can bring GIS into the picture. And when I do this, sometimes the benefits outweigh the sacrifices that you're making. Sometimes it doesn't. So it's really a case-by-case thing. But remember what the criteria are to get GIS. It's based on your net taxable income from the previous year, and it's going to exclude things like OAS, and it's going to include things like CPP. So if you're approaching 65, maybe you're 63, and you've got robust investments and you haven't started taking your CPP, maybe you make the decision to delay your CPP to 70, lean exclusively on your tax-free savings account for the next year, year and a half, and you put your RIFs back into RSPs if they're already in RIFs, or you just leave them as RSPs if you haven't. And that way, in your age 64 year, your income will look like it's zero. If your income is exclusively coming from TFSAs, and then you turn 65 and it's exclusively coming from TFSAs and OAS, by GIS purposes, or by their criteria, your income is zero, and you can get full access to GIS. Now, by doing so, you're sacrificing the ability to do an RSP meltdown in your 60s, which may or may not make sense for you. You're also delaying your CPP, which if you've watched the channel, you know I like, but that may not be for you either. So again, it's very situational, but you absolutely can do things strategically to allow yourself access to GIS, even if you're not really the person that it was designed for. So if you're close or not sure if you're eligible for GIS, or you want to explore the strategy of using your assets strategically to gain access to GIS, there'll be a link in the description down below that'll come directly to me. I'd be happy to help. Until next time, keep planning.